Hey, how's it going? My name is Ashley Rose. As you know, you can call me Ash. And of course, welcome back to, of course, the channel, any audio platforms that you may be listening to. Today, I do have someone you may be familiar with. I'm sure a lot of you are. He is the zombie princess. He is the man with the boots with the fur, Jimmy Jacobs. Hey, Jimmy, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Never been better. Thank you for asking. Yeah, some people may know who I am, some people may not. It's been a while since I've had any sort of real spotlight, in front of the camera in professional wrestling. The last 11 years has mostly been behind the scenes. So,
Yeah, but you're one of the most creative minds.
yes, but people can't see in my mind, can they?
Well, that is true. I see that you're a big reader. What you got going on there?
Oh yeah. I've got 3 bookshelves with all sorts of, I like the fantasy genres, like the Harry Potters and the Lord of the Rings type of things. And then I've got a bunch of like esoteric philosophy and different religious texts over there. I've got some pro wrestling text back here, like Mitch Albom. I got a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I'm an eclectic reader.
Well, what type of fantasy do you usually like? I know there's different types. There's like urban fantasy, regular fantasy. There's like, you have the one that mixes to like horror and science fiction, which is completely different. I just classify those as science fiction and horror.
Yeah, so like I love Harry Potter, right? That's like the best. I'm reading what is it called, Blood and Fire right now, which is one of the sort of prequels to the not Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. So I'm reading that right now. That sort of stuff. I've got the Percy Jackson series, which I got right after I finished Harry Potter. Because it's like, yo, Harry Potter was so good. I didn't want it to end. Then I pick up Percy Jackson. It's like, boy, that is not even on the same level, like at all, as far as the writing goes.
Percy Jackson's very good. I actually read that when I was working graveyard in a call center programming credit card terminals back in the day. So all I had was time. So I read like all the time. I know we're going to get into, of course, your career and we're going to talk about the sort of things. But that was one of the things that I kind of wanted to ask about because I have seen you in previous interviews and I was always mainly distracted by the bookshelves. Not in a bad way, but it's just because I'm a big reader. So I was just curious what was there. And I kind of figured one of them was Harry Potter, the series.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then, yeah, over there's a third bookshelf over there, which is mostly like, again, there's like esoteric philosophy, the Upanishads or Ramayana. There's different like psychological things over there as I, have searched the world for what the truth is. Dipping into, there's books on magic and all sorts of, occult texts, things like that. To go, what's going on here? What's going on in this reality that we're in? It was interesting that your message to me last night said something divine said I should invite you. What was that about?
Well, okay, so. Say more. Okay, so I'm kind of, how do I say this? I'm a weirdo, okay? I'm weird, first of all. I am, in a sense, kind of very spiritual in the aspect of I tend to, my intuition isn't the best. It hasn't always been. I've been through like recovery and stuff like that, and I am pretty old. You may not be able to tell, but I am pretty old. So I do believe that there are things, I wouldn't say like God, the universe. I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason. And I so happened to be talking to my friend Trent, who works at AAW. And I was telling him, hey, do you think Jimmy would come on? He was all, yeah, he's back on Instagram. Just ask him. And I was like, well, due to things that were going on in my personal life, it had been in the back of my mind to talk to you and to invite you on. And it kept bothering me like every now and then. And I was like, you know what? I know it's kind of late. Tonight might be the night. Let me just ask. And I was very surprised that you answered quickly. And you're like, yeah, sure. What can I do for you? So that's what it is. So something was kind of nudging me in that direction because I felt like maybe there was something I was going to get out of the conversation, because I admire and enjoy and have a love for people that encourage me or influence me to learn more about something. So usually when I have an intuition like that, it's because I'm set to learn something from that type of whatever the conversation may be.
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that. Because yeah, when something nudges you, you gotta go, what's this about? It's only when I've found when I ignore parts of reality that are nudging me that the the energy starts to coalesce more and more into weirder and harder and more suffering and more pain. So yeah, of course. And we all the beautiful thing that I've learned is we all have something to learn from each other. Like I used to think like, all right, he's got something, he doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't know what he's talking about, she doesn't know what he's talking about. Like who knows what they're talking about? And the truth is everybody has something for us. Like if you get to the bottom of what people are saying, there's beautiful nuggets. There's so much wisdom in listening to the person in front of you, because they're in front of you for a reason, because this place is ordered as much as it looks like chaos. If you go into the moment and you're present with what's in front of you, there's magic in every moment.
So that being said, it's I've how do I say this? And I always pick like how I word things in the aspect of there being some type of divine. I always say divine or the universe versus God, because I don't want to offend anyone. I think the way I perceive things is I try to be very optimistic, and people may perceive that as being naive. I always think that there's the best intentions from anyone, like anyone in general.
Yeah, and all of these things we're saying, they're words, right? They're words. When you say the word God, when you say the word universe, when you say the word divine, these are symbols that are pointing in a similar direction. I feel like I'm being nudged by something. It's pointing in a similar direction of like there is some sort of force that's greater than what I think of as me, that is flowing through all of this. And if I listen, if I have my attention where just I have my attention awareness sort of open, yeah, there's a ton of stuff here for us. And I wouldn't say it makes you naive to be optimistic. Of course, yes, there are adversarial people and spirits out there, but it is, I have found something like the faith in the fundamental goodness of reality is a proper guide to take. So I'm with you.
Well, speaking of faith and being artistic, and do you prefer creating stories for yourself or for others when it comes to your line of work as far as it comes to pro wrestling?
Right. Right. Um, I want to say they're two different things, but much like you, I want to be as exact with my words as possible. Much of my career, of course, personally as a performer, my subconscious got to express itself in all sorts of ways where I got to play the character of my unconscious, right? I got to be jumping Jimmy Jacobs on a pogo stick and the big bully Jimmy Jacobs at 5'6", pretending I'm huge, stepping over the top rope, and the barbaric berserker, and finally at some point the zombie princess, which is the sort of culmination of my unconscious mind throwing out everything that's going on. So working behind the scenes and creating stories with other people, I mean, it's more of a, I guess, say like collaborative effort, in that you're not dealing solely with let's say, how you view yourself, how you view your spirit. Other people's spirits are at the forefront. Other people's beings are at the forefront. And so you are a conduit to expressing sort of somebody else. But of course, your own expression comes out of that, no doubt. And then you start to see like these different characters that, you know, you relate to. Let's say I find different characters. I go, yes, this is like a part of me. And because there's a connection there, like there's a part of me, you get to use different, like a different costume, a different character, a different person to express parts of you that are reflected in their being. Does that make sense when I say all that? Sometimes I don't know if anybody would understand words I say at this point.
No, I understand it. That was great. Thank you for being elaborate. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate, of course, your time. Now, I usually do a thing called questions from the community. That's usually with TNA, the TNA community, as far as the fans. Thank you, Draven. You can hear, if you hear my cat, he's pretty loud sometimes. A lot of the questions I got are similar ones I'm going to answer, but their main question, and I want to get it out of the way, is they want to know, would you ever come back to TNA?
It's not a no, that's for sure. It's not a no. Like if a conversation, like someone from the Anthem side of things would have to call me, and it would have to be a good fit, and I don't know whether it would be or not. You know, ever since TNA let go of Scott D'Amore, I've been looking at that place going, what are they doing? What are they up to? You know, for this time, it's like you need someone to replace Scott. Like when Scott left, I thought I was sort of the obvious choice to go to. Humbly speaking, I had been there for 5.5 years. I knew like if Scott had ever like gotten sick or something, I could have run the show. I was like the number 2 in creative there. So yeah, for a while I was watching them going, what are they up to? What do they want? What are they? And look, they got their AMC TV deal, which is amazing. They have their relationship with WWE, which is great. So optically, they're doing tremendous. I'm like, there was a contingency of people on the TNA side, like the wrestling side, that certainly wanted me back at TNA when Scott left. That was a topic of conversation within the company. And for whatever reason, Anthem never knocked on my door, and that's perfectly okay. They're doing great, and I'm doing great. So yeah, I would have to see sort of like what they want. It's like if they want something that I have to offer and I want to give it, and we have a, you know, mutually, if it fits at this point in my life, I just don't want to do anything that compromises. Yeah, that compromises. I want to do the stuff that fits me exactly right. That's what I want to do in my life.
That's understandable. You know, because if you're not happy, who else is going to make you happy? You know what I mean? Like, you have to be happy with yourself. You have to love yourself. That's what I always say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, let's we're going to go ahead and talk about some ROH stuff, because you're very well known in ROH. You know, that was a great generation, part of your career during that time period. Do you think ROH shaped your philosophy on what wrestling is versus wrestling as a business?
No. Look, I learned a lot in ROH. Obviously, you learn everywhere you go. I learned a lot from Gabe Sapolsky, who's sort of worked under Paul Heyman. And so there's certain wrestling philosophies that I got just like seeing how his mind worked. But as far as like ROH, the general brand, like I've got a lot of love for it. And I got a lot of love for the guys there. It's a very special time. I mean, this is in truth, this is the ROH era of professional wrestling. Like AEW is like ROH like turned up to a 10, and much of the talent in WWE and that's been successful in WWE, it's like the ROH wrestlers with the ROH style. So that's that is the ROH is the era that we're in now. Whatever ROH was blossomed into, at least partially blossomed into what the wrestling business is now. I didn't love wrestling at ROH. That wasn't my style. Like I had to sort of. I like house show wrestling. I like wrestling, and trying to keep up with these amazing athletes and fans that had seen everything, and it wasn't fun for me. I didn't like wrestling there. I like telling stories there, and that's what my time in ROH is best known for, the stories I was telling, not the matches I had, because that's what I enjoyed. So eventually it made sense for me to just not even wrestle anymore, really, and go into behind the scenes stuff, because I'm a storyteller. I understand what pro wrestling is. I understand what the picture of pro wrestling is. I understand what dramatic timing is, how to time and how to execute telling stories with our faces and our bodies while simulating fighting. I get what that is, because I kind of get what storytelling is overall. I get, to the degree that I do. I don't want to say I'm a genius, but that my mind works in a particular way. Everybody's mind works in a particular way, and seeing sort of the patterns of reality and how to compress them into a performance, I get.
That leads into my next question. Do you think, you've always tend to blur, performance and storytelling together. When did you realize in wrestling that storytelling could be something more deeper when it came to matches?
It was an intuition right away. I'm 15 years old, and if I watch some of this stuff, fundamentally, my fundamentals weren't good, and they probably never were good. The execution of certain things and the footwork, especially early on. But right away, I had the intuition of what wrestling was, more so than a lot of the people around me. Right away, I was doing things that I was like, why would you do that? That's not really what this is. It's more like this. It's more like this. I'm 15 years old and cutting these promos and that were so absurd, but so pro wrestling. And it's fun. It's fun looking back at me at 15, 16, 17, 18. How much energy I had, how much just how I put it all out there. Because wrestling, as much as it is obviously it's a method of storytelling, for me personally, it was also, an expression of my suppressed emotions and my suppressed self. This isn't something I knew at the time. It's only looking back that I go, right, because in real life, it was, sit here, do this, behave. You're too wild. You're too this. You're too this. And so in real life, I'm just a ball of tension. That's all I am, a ball of tension, worried about getting in trouble, can't make this move, can't make this move, can't make this move. You're too loud, you're too this, you're too that, you're too that. And then wrestling, it's the louder I am, the wilder I am, the more I emote, the more I let all this stuff out there, the more of a maniac I am, the more that's well received by the people around me. So it was an outlet for expression in many ways. One of, an emotional outlet, and again, just a character outlet. I can look at what my characters were at different times and go, right, because that's a part of me here that I needed to see, and that's a part of me that I needed to work out, and this is a part of me that I needed to work out. And seeing how my subconscious took all of these weird parts of me and then spun them into a character, and being in stories of thinking love is the love of a woman is what will save me, and then finding out, oh, it's not that, and then going, oh, if I change the world, it's everybody else's fault. If I change the world through Age of the Fall, a social revolution. And these are all different parts of my unconscious, my subconscious, working itself out. That's really what it is.
Well, you were in ROH during the MySpace time, so you knew about all the trends and everything that was going on. So one thing I've always admired was how, when it came to your innovation of characters, you always tend to go with the times, and it made it relatable to people that wanted to actually turn on ROH. At least you're one of the parts. Like for instance, with the Ballad of Lacey, the good majority of MySpace was a lot of scene kids. So you very much fell into that category of playing that. So a lot of us, during that time that weren't watching pro wrestling, kind of knew who you were because we would see the clips. So I think the Ballad of Lacey is like probably one of the most entertaining times of your career. Not saying it was just entertaining. I love that you actually created like an entire 3-piece song for it.
Yeah, I mean thank you. That was the Ballad of Lacey is certainly one of the highlights of my career, right? I was kind of on my way out of Ring of Honor. This is the story behind it. Is like I was kind of on my way out. Gabe Sapolsky really didn't see what value I had, more or less. I got good reactions doing the furry boots and the Huss, and that had sort of ran its course, and he just didn't see. It's like I'm not the guy that's having these like DVD selling matches. It's like, what does this guy have? And so then with my back up against the wall, me and my buddy write this song, record it. Me and my other buddy make this music video to go, look, this is what I am. This is what I have to offer. And then, a few months later, Gabe's like, I think we need a second song, as if I'm some like magic songwriter and this is what I do. So yeah, that was, the trilogy of music videos. I mean, yeah, with my back up against the wall, just fighting for my spot to go, look, this is me. This is who I am. This is what I bring to the table. And as soon as Gabe saw the Ballad of Lacey, he was like, I see now. Because sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes it's like these guys that feel like they don't have opportunities or they're not booked right or whatever. It's like, you gotta show people who you are. You have to show people what you have. Saying like, oh, you should do this with me, you should do this with me. It's like, if a booker doesn't see it, if a promoter doesn't see it, if the world doesn't see it, if the fans don't see it, it's like, if you're just keeping it a secret, it's like, then it's your secret. But if you actually have the value, it's like there's always a space. That's what I've seen in pro wrestling. Like there are very few, in my mind, there are very few like injustices. Like, yes, there's people who's got injured or something and maybe never got exactly what they deserved. There's a few of those things. The Briscoes never got their full flowers, and but more or less, the guys that are good, like that will come through if you put it out there and keep putting it out there. Like that will come through. It doesn't matter how much someone wants to, they want to hold me down. It's politics. It's like, if you're good, you're good. You just have to show the world you're good. You have to show that you're good. You have to demonstrate the value you have. You can't just think that you have value and going, why aren't they seeing my value? It's like, we'll bring it to the table. And that's what the Ballad of Lacey was.
Now, I want to ask you, going into your job as a creative for, let's say, like WWE, AEW, TNA, whatever it may be, there's two things I want to ask you. One, was there a storyline that you creatively worked on that didn't see the light of day that you thought could have played out very well? And also, what do you prefer, being a wrestler working in the ring, or do you prefer working in the back as creative?
So there's no stories that really come to mind that never came to fruition, because like more or less you're not writing like long-term things. More like you're not going to invest like a bunch of time in like this big overarching story, more or less, because like it's a week to week business. Are there pitches that I had that I thought were good that never saw the light of day? Sure, I had. So I was on the creative team for AEW, but I did I didn't really do creative there. It was like a logistical job. I was in charge of the formats and sort of crafting some of the like logistics of the show, and I passed information on to wrestlers and to production and coaches. I was around Tony a lot. I was kind of like a channel for Tony. Tony has a bunch of ideas. We talk about a bunch of things. I see sort of what he wants. I start to put it together, and then I gave that information to people. So the idea that I had some sort of like my creative fingerprints were on the AEW show, almost zero. The people that these fans online who there's a podcast out of Chicago that was saying, oh, he's bringing the undead stuff to here. It's like, no, sorry, you're wrong. These other, again, fans. It's like, oh, Jimmy, it's like wrong. You guys are wrong. You guys don't know what you're talking about. God bless you. You don't know what you're talking about. One of the pitches I did make to Tony was I saw a lot in Harley Cameron.
This episode is powered by Curst Cosmetics. Use my code ARoseDistortion for 10% off, where horror meets beauty. And also go to Abracadabra NYC, where horror is year-round. The year-round Halloween store. That's Abracadabra NYC. Same code for 10% off. ARoseDistortion.
And that has been validated since. And to get her on the field, we had just brought in Rusev with like Lana, or like Lana came in, with Rusev there. And there was a bit of like a will they, won't they for a second. And I had this idea where it seems like they're going to get together, like Rusev doesn't want to, or Lana doesn't want. I think that was the story at first. It was like Lana's not sure if she wants to be with Rusev. So you get to this story where finally, like, Lana sees that, like, Rusev's, we should be back together. And you do this backstage shot where, Lana goes up to Rusev's locker room and knocks on the door, and, she's ready to get back together. Because I love the will they, won't they. I mean, that's it's television, man. That's storytelling. You push and you pull, you push, you pull, you push, you pull, you push, you pull until the whole thing explodes. And, Lana goes there, ready to reunite with Rusev. And Rusev gives no, I understand. I've been pursuing you too much. It's all right. I understand. I get the message. I found someone else to manage my career. And then you get Harley Cameron in there as like a fake Lana, like wearing the whole thing. And she's such an amazing sort of actress and performer that I thought she would really sort of steal this, and it would start to bring her to the spotlight. And then you do a thing where Lana then pissed that Rusev has this other woman. Now she manages people against Rusev, and you build to a big moment. Obviously, at the end, WrestleMania 7, reuniting of Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. You build to some big moment where one of her monsters that she's managing fights Rusev, and ends up beating Rusev. And Harley Cameron, you do the whole WrestleMania 7 thing. Put the boots to him. Here comes Lana, pushes her away, throws her out of the ring. Rusev and Lana back together. But that never came to fruition. I think Rusev got hurt like right around the time I pitched that. And I don't even know if Tony would have done that or not. But there's a story that I had in mind that I thought, yeah, that would be a fun one. As far as performing and doing stuff behind the scenes, they're just two different beasts. Like at this point in my career, like my in-ring career is, it's basically done. I think I've worked out everything I need to work out as a performer. And, but I mean, I certainly loved performing. I mean, I loved dancing with the guy I'm working with and the audience. I loved the symbiotic relationship. I loved being in the moment. I loved when something I loved improvising. I loved when something went wrong, or something happens where the fans start chanting something or whatever. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get, and those are the moments I loved, where you come in there with a bit of a plan, but a new tool gets thrown at you, a new thing gets thrown at you, and now you get to I get to be in that moment and go, all right, now I take this new thing that I had no idea was going to happen, and I get to incorporate it and change the story and do this dance with, with the energy in the room. I loved that. And
I love that you refer to wrestling as a dance, because I've always said that in pro wrestling, and some people disagree with me or they don't like how I word it. I say you're only as good as your dance partner in that ring.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think I could have a match with a mop, and it would be pretty entertaining. I mean, Hack Sandman, his last match was against the Invisible Man, and that was heard people loved that. So
That's what Billy Idol would refer to as dancing with yourself.
Yes, and I loved doing that. I loved, one of the things I loved for so long was going to these kind of like smaller independent shows while I'm wrestling in Ring of Honor. So I'm like as far as the independents go, I'm higher up, and working with guys that kind of weren't that good, and pulling like 20-minute matches out of them. I loved doing that for so long, like bringing guys who maybe weren't as good as me up. My downside was probably something like guys that were above me. I probably brought them down. Like I brought everybody to about my level. Like I would have, Jim Lazer's best match he's ever had, and like Davey Richards' like probably worst match he's ever had. Right.
Going into, well, let's go a little bit outside wrestling. I have to ask, when did you start playing the ukulele?
2020. 2020, when the world sort of slowed down for a bit. I just moved to Phoenix, and so I moved to Phoenix like the day I got to Phoenix is like the day like IKEA shut down. Like I wanted to buy furniture, and there's IKEA shut down. So I'm in this new place. I know nobody. I'm just at my house for the first time, like in my adult life too. Like I spent my whole life, like every weekend, starting at 15 and really like 18. Once I had a car, and like anytime, any place, anywhere. Once like school wasn't an issue. Making sure I get to my sophomore English class on time. Once that was an issue, like I was just going. The most I'd ever slowed down from the time I was 15 to my 30s was when I went to rehab, and when I was 33, 30 days in one place. And this was kind of like that, where I'm like, oh, I'm kind of grounded for a minute. Like I'm just at home, and I don't know anybody here, and so I have to do something with that time. And you can either, which I started, at the beginning of that in March of 2020, I'm watching Catfish reruns all day and playing slot machines on my phone and going, what am I doing? This is, what else can I do? And I really took that time to look more internally. This is sort of a lot of when my spiritual development really started to turn up. And also it was like, oh yeah, what else can I do? Let me get a ukulele, and let me get a ocarina, and let me get a hand pan. So I'm like trying out these different instruments. I'm not like a particularly talented musician, but I like playing. I like playing around, and I kind of love the ukulele. I've got 6 downstairs that I play every day. I don't play all 6 every day, but I play something every day.
I completely understand, especially during that time period. That's kind of like when my spiritual development took a height too. After I went into like a certain type of recovery from, I'm pretty open to talk about it. I don't care. People judge me for it still. I don't care. It's done. It's over with. I was a very heavy drinker, and it affected a lot of my relationships. And I kind of, during that time period, especially during lockdown, during the pandemic, things like that, I think it kind of forced everyone to face realizations of what was around them, and especially what was going on in their lives. Things slowed down, things weren't as hectic, so people were kind of forced to face what they were avoiding. I mean, relationships ended during that time period. Relationships started during that time period.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. When you can't quite run from yourself in the same manner, when you're just home, when it's just you and your wife, you go, "Oh, ooh, this isn't oh, now that we're around each other all the time, or now that I'm around myself all the time without, playing the character over here and running over here, it's like, what's going on?" And it's a lesson I would say for all of us to like slow down. There's no rush. There's no rush. There's no like there, life isn't about getting something done. It's about doing what's in front of you. It's about being present with what's in front of you. And that's a hard lesson to learn because it feels like, no, but I have all this. I have all this. I have this to do. I have this to do. It's like, that's not the speed of life, man. That's not the speed of life. And so while what happened in 2020 in some ways was utterly, perverse, in another way, it's, with all the dark, there is light. Another way, it's like, yes, here's a spotlight for everybody to slow down and look at yourself and look, when I say it's perverse, like look at what's going on. If in 2020 for 3 weeks, I was like, oh my God, we're in a pandemic. And then after that, I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on? Because what they're saying is, and what I'm seeing, and there's some incoherence here. 2020 was the time for me to go, oh, look, these are all lies. These are all lies. That's all we're being fed is lies all the time. I got to go down the health rabbit hole because they're saying, oh, it's like this, it's like this. I'm like, is that how illness works? Is that how health works? I got to go into all these rabbit holes of what really makes you ill and what is illness and what is health. And which is like, you start to get into that stuff. You go, what's the nature of the human body? What's the nature of nature? Those, digging into that stuff allowed me to, these are parts of reality that, how do you say? I got to see different parts of reality up close in a way that I wouldn't have if I was on the road all the time, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
So what made you choose Phoenix out of every place that you've been? Because you're originally from Grand Rapids, correct?
Yeah. So I was in Michigan for a lot of years, and then to go work for WWE, I moved to Stamford, Connecticut. And then after I got fired from WWE, I didn't know what was going to happen. Like I had no idea where I was going to go, what company was going to, sort of pick me up, how long term it was going to be. And I, as a guy that runs from myself for most of my life, I didn't want to be like, stuck in I don't want to buy a house or be stuck in a lease. So I moved in to my friend's place in Chicago, and her and I lived together for a while. And then after a couple years in Chicago, I told her, I was like, hey, I think I'm done with Chicago. And it's cold here. It's like just a concrete jungle. Yeah, it's cold. It's so cold in Chicago, and it's a concrete jungle. It's like I'm sick of the pavement. I'm like, I think I'm gonna go out west. I'm like, I think I'm gonna go to Vegas. And she goes, well, I want to come too, but I don't want to do Vegas. What about Phoenix? I go, yeah, Phoenix, sure. Well, let's do Phoenix. And so we went out to Phoenix for a couple of years, and I loved Phoenix. Deathly hot during the summer. Sun goes down.
It's charming though.
What's that?
It's charming.
It is charming. I
was just in Arizona last month. I went to Mesa, but I mean, you have to fly into Phoenix to get there. So, did you ever see the David Bowie mural? Were you there?
No. Is that in Mesa?
It's in Phoenix. It's apparently near the art center or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that. Yeah, I loved my time there though. It was a little too hot. Whatever. I've had many excuses to make many runs. In 10 or 11 years, I went from Michigan to Stamford to Chicago to Phoenix to Georgia to Florida to back to Michigan. I went from ROH to WWE to TNA to AEW to basically unemployed. I went from single to madly in love to casual sex to not dating at all. I tried every combination of every external external change I could with the excuse of, well, this is too cold, this is too hot, this is too lonely, this is too this. When really it's like, yeah, it's just me. I've been there the whole time, and like I'm the thing that is the same everywhere I go, that I feel like I needed to run everywhere I went. So
I'm very much the same in that aspect. I've moved and I travel a lot. I personal life is questionable, put it that way. I can choose partners better, I will say that. But I've moved from Texas to California, from California back to Texas, Texas to Georgia, then back to Texas, and then traveled from Texas to Arizona, Florida, Kentucky, Memphis, Michigan, Chicago. So New York. New York's my least favorite place, to be honest with you. That's my opinion. So as my friend Jacob would say, he told me, I've been running my whole life. That's what I know. And that's how I equate it. I don't know if it's necessarily because of our generation and our age. I believe you are about close to my age range. So
yeah, there's more like accessibility to give you the illusion of running, right? I can dive right into the black mirror in front of me, and I can lose myself into that. It's easier to drive here and to go on a plane here, and like the external mobility and the amount of access that we have to different, not just different people, but just different information, different this, like you can go, you can lose yourself in a lot of places now, whereas obviously in the past it's like you had a community, and you had a family, and you had a community, and you have the little city above it, and everything sort of stacked, but your home was your home. Like that's what you take care of, because like that's where your people are, that's where your life is. And once people don't, basically once cars come around, people think cars are, oh, this is amazing, and get us from one place to the next. But really what cars were, what the sort of Trojan horse is it all of a sudden separates communities. Now I no longer need to rely on the people around me. And that, you always need to rely on the people around you, but that the option of having something over here to get and something over here, and now with the internet, it's the same sort of thing. It gives us this like false sense of connection. It's like, yeah, we're friends. Well, yeah, we're friends on Facebook. It's like it's not quite the real thing. It's like it gives you pornography as opposed to a loving connection through sex. It gives you the distorted, the false version of something, which only scratches the itch but never gets to the bottom of what's going on. So I would say, yeah, it is something like the generation that we're in gives us the accessibility to run from ourselves, and many people do, and I did for a very long time.
I can relate and I understand that completely. Before we close out, I always ask, because we've been on for quite some time, and that went by quick. So, of course, thank you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. I always ask this question: what is it that you would like your fans or people that have followed your career, any advice you would like to give them, whether it be professional, whether it be personal?
Advice, boy, it's hard to give blanket advice to, because everybody's an individual, and we miss that sometimes. We miss that there are no hard and fast rules, let's say, that everybody is in their own unique place. And yes, there's general sort of principles, but they're principles to sort of that point at something. But to give someone advice is to it's to be present with them. It's to know them. It's not to think there's this sort of one size fits all, do this, do this, do this. Hey, I mean, that's how I grew up. I don't know if it's how you grew up. It's like, my life was, to some degree at least, already picked out for me. It's like, here, you're gonna go to school every day. It's like, what does that have to do with me? Well, you're supposed to. It's like, what does that have to do with me? It's like, here, come do this. It's like, what does that have to do with me? Like, you don't know me. You don't know what's best for me because you don't know me. And so the idea even that there are other people that know what's best for you, look, there's a way this is correct and there's a way this isn't correct. The idea that there's someone that knows what's best for you personally in this moment, like that there's that some other person could even like have your best interest, know your best interest, even know what your best interest is. When I look at somebody, I'm a big, the idea of government is just absolutely abhorrent to me. The idea that there's some people that can pick rules for other people and they even could have your best interest in mind, let alone do, is an absurdity. So all that to say, yes, love's the answer. Yes, be present with other people. Yes, be with other people. Be with yourself. Don't, I don't say even don't run. It's like, I ran for 40 years. I ran for 40 years. And I needed to do all that running. All that stuff needed to be worked out because there's actually no running from yourself. There's actually no running from yourself. So even at the times where I go, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I can look back now and go, oh, look, what a beautiful journey that was, with a lot of pain and a lot of confusion. But it all served a purpose. It all served the highest purpose there is, because that's how reality works.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. I really appreciate it. Where can everyone find you?
At the moment, I'm on Instagram at Jimmy Jacobs X. I have the jimmyjacobs.com domain name and a little website on there. I never update it, and at some point that'll probably just go down. And at some point, I'll probably delete my Instagram too, because at some point, Jimmy Jacobs is going to be over. At some point, all of what Jimmy Jacobs was will be integrated into Christopher, and that will be amazing. And I feel it happening already as I've sort of stepped away from the major three companies over the last year and a half, and as I've sort of there's more and more distance from that. Wrestling defines me less and less. The name Jimmy Jacobs defines me less and less. I'm still working for Maple Leaf Pro with Scott D'Amore in Canada. We're doing some good stuff. We got a TV deal with TSN, and that's fun to work on that with him. But it's no longer the thing that, defines me. It's no longer the thing that, if it all goes away tomorrow, I'll be like, yeah, great, cool. That's fine. That's good. I loved the time. I loved it. I appreciated it so much. Even when I was miserable in it, it was such a blessing and such a gift.
Thank you. And then everyone, have a good night. And of course, check out all of our sponsors. It helps support me. It helps support the platform.